Oh, it's gonna be a really tough review to do. Hey everyone, this is Joseph, probably your host with the most what I don't know today. I'm very high on allergies, so I got the most allergies, I guess. Welcome to your Marvel Studios Avengers Endgame Action X 3000 review. Once again, doing this alone because I'm recording this the day after I saw Endgame. And that night, which we will probably talk about that night on the PodXcast at some later point down the line, but was a very amazing day, amazing night mostly, and I quite don't know. I don't have the words for a year. I'm still processing everything about Endgame, and it's really hard to say. I'm planning on rewatching it a few more times, which is very rare for a movie to do. And generally, the Avengers movies have tempted me always to go back for more. I've seen Infinity War, I believe, 2 to 3 times in theaters and then multiple times on DVD. So I'm trying to find the right words here, and I apologize. But the reason why, again, we're not doing another video review is that we came out of that movie pretty fucking late, and it was raining as hell, and then the guys were like really tired. They didn't want to come back to my place and like do presumably a 2-hour review. Plus, I had work today, literally at 7 a.m. and I got out like around 11. So that was by far the worst inconvenience of my entire life in terms of this. But you know what? I accept it. But at the end of the day, before I jump into like the actual review itself, the movie was amazing, and I enjoyed that night with the people I've got to see this movie with. And again, you'll hear those stories at some point later down the line. But enough of that. On to the review. Obviously, spoiler free, and for the first time in history of doing movie reviews, it is going to be very difficult not to talk about this movie with any spoilers. Because literally, like, this entire movie from the first teaser trailer back in December, literally, they hid this movie's plot. Like, we as the Marvel fans kind of pieced together what this movie could have been, could be through the leaks, through set photos, through the trailers. Obviously, we managed to piece some things together, but we never got to really figure it out, beforehand. And that was definitely a well marketed move by Marvel and Disney to promote this movie going into it, because this is the culmination of 22 movies, and literally, even from the first 30 minutes, like, it would have really, like, the surprise of seeing those scenes for the first time in theaters definitely was worth the shock value that had we seen it in the trailers. So I think again, really hard to say anything, but so I guess I can't even talk about anything really. Avengers Endgame is by far, in my mind, so we're skipping ahead to the general overall review, and then we'll jump into spoilers here. The best movie ever. It is by far the best comic book movie ever. It is by far the best movie ever, because you have movies such as The Dark Knight and Logan, and in those minds, they're a cinematic masterpiece. This one goes beyond that level. It manages to conclude more or less the 22 film saga, the Infinity Saga, that it's been telling since 2008's Iron Man. Never in the history of cinema has any studio, any company try to tell this one long narrative between different sub-franchises, between these big crossover movies, culminating in this. You can literally do the research there. You couldn't probably find anything besides Marvel, and the fact they pulled this off without a hitch, is by far the biggest understatement of the century. And this was a moment in movie history where, no offense to Marvel, I don't think they'll be able to top this one, because the energy, the passion that fans went into going to seeing this movie on opening day and opening weekend, because right now, from what I'm hearing, it's on track to make $1 billion in the box office in one weekend, which is crazy as hell. Really crazy. But yeah, so this movie obviously was an amazing masterpiece from start to finish, and um yeah, so there you go. There's my basic non-spoiler review. I didn't talk about anything about the plot because literally I cannot say anything about this plot, any plot point in this movie without spoiling something. So with that being said, let's switch over. I gotta work on my snapping. My snapping is not that loud. Spoilers. Okay, so here's the other thing I gotta mention to you guys. I'm still debating in my head because I honestly do want to do a full episode on the podcast about Endgame, about the MCU, the Infinity Saga, all that. So I might have. I'm going to skip over some spoilers here, not because of the sake of, you know, I honestly don't think I'll be able to do this film justice in terms of talking about every single detail. I'm just going to talk about like the ones that I felt important that does go into my personal review of the movie, and then hopefully at some later point down the line, I don't know when we'll do a proper full podcast solely on Endgame and its impact and every nook and cranny and what that means, and we'll get there. But generally speaking, I'm still going to do a proper review here. So here we go. Let me tell you what, guys. Let me tell you what. This film takes your expectations, throws them away, and still gives you something even better than your expectations. Because in my idea, this was what I thought Endgame was going to be. Through the trailers, which obviously were misleading at certain points. Where am I train of thought go? Okay, I think I remember. My idea of how this movie was going to go was that Captain Marvel was going to show up as terms of the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel. Somehow within a very short time span, they rebuild a spaceship. Maybe she brought the spaceship. They go after Thanos. They fight him, but they fail to beat him again, which obviously in my mind. Now here's the thing about the Thanos thing. Obviously, I'm still debating. I'll get there in a moment. But okay, so okay, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. So the way they start this movie off, giving Hawkeye his moment. Obviously, Hawkeye wasn't in Infinity War because I do believe it was really better for him just to be in Endgame because there was just so much to tell with Hawkeye, or Ronin as he's known as in this film. There was just so much that if they had crammed that into an already tightly packed Infinity War, I don't think it would have worked. So thankfully they managed to give him the opening scene of the movie, which was by far the most tragic one because like, here he is. Sure, he's on house arrest. Sure, he has to be stuck on this property, but he's with his family. He's happy, and then the Thanos thing happens, and that what sadly spirals him down his path towards when we see him like eventually when he re-meets our heroes. The Tony Stark thing, obviously, I had a real feeling that there was absolutely no way he was going to die in space. They were going to find him somehow. I honestly thought the Lego set that leaked was that Rocket was going to find him, but it wasn't. It was Captain Marvel, and that was pretty cool. They needed to get that out of the way because having Tony, like, they could have easily just had Tony be stuck in space for like 30 minutes of the movie, but it was like that was just going to drag. It was just going to take away from all the interactions that we wanted to have, and thankfully they managed to bring him back fairly quickly. They had to bench him, of course, when they did go after Thanos. Later on, which they did, and it was. This is the one thing I find now. I'm really thinking about is that Rocket said that at this point. So I'm getting to the point where they're about to go for Thanos. They're about to find. It's been 3 weeks since the snap, and they supposedly found this planet 2 days ago where there was an energy signature registering a similar one to the one that was on Earth. So my question was with that. Why didn't he say anything 2 days ago? Now, obviously, I could just easily point out that Captain Marvel probably told him, like, oh, we should start looking for beyond the planets, or I really don't know, but, it was plot convenience. And then when they eventually do get to Thanos' planet, I was expecting this massive beatdown. He used the stones to recover his arms. His arm, not arms. And that's what I was expecting. They were going to kick he was going to kick their asses again, and then they have to retreat back to Earth and figure out what the fuck we're going to do now. for them to easily wreck Thanos in like 2 minutes, in not even 2 minutes, like under a minute, like this is proper teamwork. And the fact Thor went as far as he did in terms of like, he chopped off his motherfucking hand, which is again obviously something he should have done in Infinity War. But again, you know, he had his reasons. And then the moment they realized the stones were gone. Now, honestly, for a brief second, and I initially thought that he had sent the stones throughout time and space, and that's where the quantum realm stuff was going to eventually fit in. But it didn't. So he destroyed the stones. Like, he used the stones to destroy the stone, which was honestly an ingenious plan. Like, had it not been for Ant-Man getting out of the quantum realm, I don't think they were ever going to resolve this. So, yeah. And then obviously Thor chopping off Thanos' head was like, that was a personal victory from the Infinity War shit, but like, dude, you should have done that like weeks ago. We're gonna jump around here because again, I want to save some stuff for stuff, but so thank God there was a rat in the van that managed to free Scott. So rats are not just vermin; they also inadvertently saved the entire half the population. Anyway, so yeah, from then on, like, the film started picking up. We started to get to see new lives for the Avengers as they are trying to accept this post-decimation world, which for most of them, they're not happy. Tony has a daughter, which is by far the sweetest thing, and it definitely did signal like this is the mature point of his development, that he has a kid now. He has someone to depend on, but he's also, remember, he did fail as a mentor to Spider-Man because, Spider-Man thing. And Alan kept constantly reminding me throughout this entire year that he was gone. Screw you, Alan. But, okay, I'm getting off track here. So, but eventually, as the film progressed, so we're jumping around here. Again, I'll format this better in a later podcast. We did get to see Thor. Chris Hemsworth, I feel like it's a clause in his contract now going into future Thor appearances, because, again, spoilers, Thor will return. When and where, hopefully in Guardians 3. Thor has obviously, before Ragnarok, Thor has kind of gotten stiff as a character, like, this is how he's supposed to be, and that's it. And Chris Hemsworth was brutally honest that had that been the continued path for Thor in Ragnarok to now, I feel like he was more inclined to, like, just write me off. This character is just not for me. And thankfully, the director of Ragnarok, I don't want to butcher his name again, so I'm not going to say his name, but, also, hashtag Cork Lives. That was by far best fucking moment in the movie. One of the best moments in the movie, for me. Obviously, or was I going with this? Yeah. So thankfully, it was that moment where we reinvented Thor. We got like a new Thor Ragnarok. We saw the development of that Thor in Infinity War, and we got to see now Fat Thor in Endgame. Which, even Fat Thor had his own Fat Thor. Goddamn, that's a grammar conjugation if I ever seen one. That character had his own expectations that easily, like, my expectations for that character went above and beyond, and what I believe was going to happen to that character was totally wrong. So kudos to Marvel if they kept fucking pushing my ideas away. I'm still curious in how the whole post Endgame stuff's going to work, but I'll get to that in a moment. All the time heist thing was an ingenious plan, getting to go back to the Battle of New York, which was obviously a prominent moment in the Avengers history, getting to go back to 2014 in space, and then getting, what was the other one? Revisiting, in my opinion, I believe the worst MCU film, which was Thor: The Dark World. Now, when I mean by worst MCU film, I mean by my least favorite MCU film. I feel like Thor: The Dark World is a watchable movie, but it's just pales in comparison to the other 21 movies, in my opinion. So all that was fun, getting to see all the little cameos from, ranging from the Ancient One and Frigga and Jane Foster. God, Natalie Portman's so hot. I'm putting that on the record. And then after the time heist stuff, obviously, we still needed to have a Thanos Fred, and the Thanos of 2014, had to suffice for now. But, I mean, I guess the time travel stuff is going to obviously be a little now weird in terms of going forward. But, anyway. So, where was I going to go with this? Where was I going? So, and then we get to the final battle. The epic culmination, the real culmination, where they did manage to undo the snap. And, at first it was just going to be, okay, everyone's back, but we need to finish this, just us, the people in, the core people we've been following, throughout this movie. And I thought it was just going to be them. They're going to finish Thanos. They're going to try and find a way to, defeat him once and for all. And, Thor, somehow getting this causes a lot of timeline paradoxes, which I'll get to in a moment, or maybe I won't, and I'll just glance over them for a little bit. Getting to see Cap wield Mjolnir was this was a moment a lot of fans have been hoping for since Age of Ultron, and we finally fucking got it. It was goddamn beautiful. Getting to see the original 3 fight Thanos, at least for the first 2 minutes of the final fight. That was awesome. And then getting to see everyone come back, and Cap finally saying Avengers Assemble was and then, fun fact, Alan was the one who said once he said Avengers, then Alan just screamed out Assemble, and then he said Assemble very quiet in a very monotone voice. He's dead serious. We're going to wreck his ass. We're going to wreck his army. And by far one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. Getting to see every single character fighting Thanos' forces, the Black Order, all that was so tremendously well done. And I want to rewatch that fight scene so many times right now, but I can't. And also I teared up a little bit getting to see Spider-Man still alive, back in action. Very exciting. Then we get to the end. And there's kind of a sentiment in my mind, when back in Infinity War, Doctor Strange did say there was only one way for them to win this, and obviously he couldn't tell them that way because then it was going to submerge their expectations of how things should have been planned out. But by the end of it, getting to see Iron Man, big spoiler here, make the final sacrifice to defeat Thanos, to defeat everything, was there was a part of me that thought it was going to be Cap who was going to finish this, or maybe even Thor, but Iron Man, I felt he started this journey. He should have been the one to end it, and he did. He had to sacrifice himself to beat Thanos. And to get to see now then the reversal of the Spider-Man Tony scene, where it was Spider-Man about to lose Iron Man Tony for good. It was it kind of made me almost tear. I didn't cry during this movie, which was sad to say. I didn't cry during this movie, but I did feel the emotional beats. Oh no, they're gonna lose him. Yeah. So and then let's get to some fun trivia stuff, and then we'll wrap things up. I'll give my overall full review, my final thoughts. I'm going to say this about, so this is where another thing I really got excited for. This was a personal me thing, and it kind of speaks to me in terms of, how very small this section of the fan base is. So I am a fan who loves TV shows. I watch almost every single Marvel TV show that's in connection with the MCU, except Runaways, because I don't have Hulu, but from what my friends told me, it's a very great show, so one day I will watch that. I don't know when. I gotta get off my ass and buy Hulu. So I watch every single MCU TV show, and it's always bothered me. And some of the actors and actresses have been vocal about this, that the hashtag "It's All Connected" isn't really connected, since after Age of the Shield season 3, after that specific season, things started to feel more or less connected as terms the big MCU actors started to fade away from they don't want to do these smaller TV show projects. They'd rather just do more movies, which makes sense, but it's it kind of just now makes the TV shows more and more irrelevant as we get more TV shows coming into our way, and more of them being way more distant, and it just slowly starts disconnecting, and it's it was by far, it kind of made me sad. And then obviously with the Disney Plus shows coming, with those being over highly with Marvel Studios, so it's it kind of makes the other MCU shows feel very doesn't matter. But then this movie was no, it does matter. we finally got the first Marvel TV cameo, an actor from the TV shows showing up in the movies. And it was Jarvis from Agent Carter. As soon as I got to see his face, I'm like, wait, that has to, because Agent Carter's been off the air for 3 years. No offense to Agent Carter, I did enjoy the show. Season 2 was kind of like meh for me, so that's why it took a while for me to remember, oh shit, this is Jarvis from Agent Carter. This is his actor. And I can't wait to hear his reaction to how he got to be the first. Now, there's Phil Coulson, there's Phil Coulson. He was in both the movies and TV show, but, his appearance of Captain Marvel was before the show, so it was like, it doesn't really matter. This was obviously the first direct. Yes, Agent Carter is canon in the MCU, the TV show, and that makes Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon, and since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reference Daredevil, Daredevil's canon too, and Daredevil has part of the Netflix world, so they're canon too, and then, Cloak and Dagger refers to the Luke Cage stuff a lot, so they're canon too. Runaways, I haven't watched Runaways, so I don't have any real connection there, so that was obviously for me, and I was the only one who was, audibly gasping, and none of my friends understood, because it's like, well, they don't watch the show, so it's like, this showcase, and does make sense to why, for me as the fan, for watching every single piece of content, I felt so happy that they acknowledged it, but obviously not everyone cared, not everyone knew, not everyone watched Agent Carter back in 2015, so it's like, it sucks, but it's like, that's the way the world works. Where was I going to go? What was the thing I was going to talk about next? Getting to see the original 6 back together was so fucking awesome. Getting to see Professor Hulk, which was by far the most left turn I've ever seen for Hulk, but obviously I prefer this Hulk way better. I really hope Mark Ruffalo sticks around and continues to develop Professor Hulk as a character more, so I'm really excited for that. The movie's ending, the epilogue stuff, as I like to call it, it does definitely set the seed for the Disney Plus shows. It definitely sets up the seed for what this post Endgame world's going to look like, what Far From Home's going to look like, which is going to be really interesting going forward. And also, there's definitely a very looming problem with the timeline, but we'll get there when we get there. And they didn't have a post-credit scene. They didn't. My take on it was that this was the end of the Infinity Saga. I think it would kind of ruin it a little bit had they, there's a bigger threat out there. You know what? No. Let our heroes take the win. Let them not focus on yes, there's probably going to be another big galactic threat out there someday, somehow. But right now, let them accept their victory. Let them not worry about the future. Let them, enjoy what they got now before eventually shit hits the fan again. But that's how it worked out. So, Avengers Endgame, best film ever made, the best culmination, best finale, best a lot of it. It's the best. It's the almighty best movie I've ever seen in my life, and I cannot wait to rewatch this movie again and again and again and again. And I recommend, have you not watched it, which is going to be crazy, because you should. By the way, watch all the other movies first, because this movie, you definitely wouldn't need to bank on the continuity for this one. Avengers Endgame in theaters now, well worth seeing in theaters, and I can't stress that anymore. And also, Stan Lee's final cameo. Rest in peace, you're a legend. I hope we'll see you again. And that was an end to Endgame. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please like this review, share the review if you want, and do whatever you want with this video except anything sexually explicit, and I will see you guys soon.